Wouldn't you know? This is getaway day. Day one of our tour of the Maritimes. It's pouring rain. I mean, pouring rain. A deluge. Oh yeah, it's raining. This is the part that is not fun. Can you see how wet my pants are? Look at that. That's just, and then I was taking the cover off the truck bed, and there was so much, it's such a deluge that it literally pulled it all off, and I had it's not wrapped up very well, but it's secure. I'm gonna have to reset that whole thing. It's a mess. Water everywhere. The RV lifestyle is a lot of fun. At least it's warm. But this was a cold rain, or snow, or ice. But wait, we're going to Canada. This trip is young. All right, I gotta put this stuff up. So as we make our way from Bar Harbor, Maine up to St. Andrews, New Brunswick, it is pretty much 2-lane roads that we've taken so far through the north woods of Maine. And it's green, it's very pretty. Onwards to Canada. But first we have to go through the customs and the border and go through Canada. If you're ever traveling, there's a couple things you need to know. One, Canada is very strict, no firearms. They limit the amount of alcohol that you can bring in, I think, to basically a bottle of liquor per person or a bottle of wine per person. If you drink beer, you can bring in 24 cans.
Per person?
Per person. So, but they're very strict. So make sure you do check out the way to go.
No fruit and vegetable.
You do need to have a passport to get in, or if it's Canada, you can get a passport card, which is about the size of your driver's license, and that's what Jen and I use. We've been into Canada many times, and it's usually a very easy and friendly procedure. So,
in about 14 miles, take exit 25 towards St. Andrews and resort area.
Fantasy Tours, they give us a book, and every day where we're going, how many miles, and what to do, and what to expect, what to look for. And then there will be a meeting, I believe, the evening before we set off to drive to the next place. So they make it easy to figure out where you're going.
That's Jennifer up there with an umbrella. She thinks it might rain again, but the rain has pretty much stopped, and we are camped right across from this bay here in St. Andrews by the Sea, and we indeed are by the sea. Awesome. Sky's clearing up a little bit. We are supposed to have showers on and off for the next couple of days, but all said and done, this isn't bad. Bo is really enjoying this. Gotta like Canada. No sign saying you can't bring a dog down here. Dogs are pretty welcome. Come on, Bo. Guess we got a place to go. He's just happy to be able to run.
Like most of the Maritimes, life revolves around the tides, and the tides are the biggest in the world, averaging more than 35 feet up here near St. Andrews and as high as 50 feet further north.
Okay, you have us reverse. Water Street is one way now.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody!
A bus tour of St. Andrews by the Sea took us to many of the sites, including a British military installation built to protect Canada from an invasion by those pesky Americans over in Maine.
So we're in St. Andrews by the Sea, and this is a black house here that everybody's looking at, which is kind of like a garrison. It was with these cannons built in the War of 1812, because they were Some concerned that these darn Americans over there, right over there on the other side of the fog bank in Maine, would bring that War of 1812 here. Remember, this area was founded, this area of Canada, New Brunswick, was founded by loyalists, British loyalists who left the United States during the Revolution. And they came here because they were loyal to the king. And that's where they lived. Over the years, it turns out that the people here in St. Andrews, the people over the Maine, are extremely friendly. Everybody goes back and forth all the time. And these black houses and these cannons were never used, but now they're a great tourist attraction. There you go. This is the jail. Okay, folks. Look at these bricks.
St. Andrews by the Sea is a delightful village, neat and clean, with lots of pleasant shops and restaurants.
I know a place where we can go and be alone.
An elaborate garden offers an explosion of colors and natural beauty. This is just so beautiful, it's so peaceful, and there's a nice breeze blowing, and the beauty of the flowers. I'm glad we're here.
Run away with me. So run away with me. Don't tell your friends, but let them know we're safe, let her on. Run away with me. So run away with me.
The Bay of Fundy is home to up to 12 species of whales during the summer months. The whales use the bay as a feeding ground, a nursery, and a play area.
You are welcome to step on board.
There are often humpbacks here, but on the foggy tour we took, we saw minke whales, which average around 18 feet, or the length of an SUV.
Today is our day to go to Minister's Island, and we have been looking forward to this. What you see is everybody lined up. We're going to caravan. We're going to drive out to the island. When the tide is out, we get to drive out to the island.
You're never going to be able to see the island. It's so foggy.
Well, it's a good thing that we're all close together. We can see the brake lights of the car in front of us.
Yeah, okay. It's 8:30, 8:15 in the morning. We could have slept in an hour till the fog breaks.
Well,
But the tide has to be at a certain level to drive. Otherwise, well, you'll see. They'll see, right?
they'll see. Otherwise, we'd be 14 feet underwater.
All right, they get to come with us now, and they get to look through the fog. Okay, so this is it. There's a map of what it is that we're going to. This little island out here.
All of this is going to be underwater, 14 feet of water when it's high tide. And high tide comes twice a day. So we've got our few hours here, and then we have to get off the island, or else we have to plan on staying here for quite a while. So Minister's Island, here we all come.
Minister's Island is a 500-acre island. It's 2 miles long and 1 mile wide. In the late 1800s, the Van Horns came to town. William Van Horn saw this island, fell in love, and decided to buy. So he bought the southern 150 acres and started to build his modest little cottage. It's now worked his way up through his family to 50 rooms, 17 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, and 11 fireplaces. Wow.
They call this island Minister's Island because, well, the first minister who came to this region, a British loyalist who fled New England because he didn't believe in this silly revolution, he was the minister who settled here on this island. Later on, a guy by the name of Van Horn, who was an American citizen born in Illinois. In the 1800s, he became a railroad magnate and built a lot of the Canadian Pacific lines, was knighted by the Queen, and built that summer cottage behind me. So anyway, it's still foggy, it's very wet, and we all have to be off this island within a few hours because the tide comes back in.
Like everything else on Minister's Island, this barn is built at a grand scale, 3 stories high.
Do you want to be in the golf course or go to the house?
Well, after 3 nights at the Kiwanis Oceanfront Campground in St. Andrew, New Brunswick, we're on the road again, just a little bit up the road. And this morning we had sunshine and it was so exciting, but right now we've got a light rain, so I don't know what this day is going to bring, but I've got my directions in hand and I'm helping Mike navigate to our next stop, which is Rockport Park in St. John, New Brunswick. So excited to go to a new place, and to tell you the truth, I really would have liked one more day where we were.
And that's a pretty good deal. Let's think, to have a place that you don't want to leave. It really has been a beautiful place.
Good driving, good driving.
Yeah, thanks for telling me about it.
All right.
What is that?
The water is not potable here, so here's drinking water. If you need more, they have them in the office here.
Okay.
All right. And you're in site 70.
Oh, don't run over.
How we doing?
How we doing?
I think we're pretty good there.
St. John's, New Brunswick. And this is one of the oldest towns in Canada. And like so many towns over here, it was founded by the Loyalists who left the U.S. and came to Canada. It is a major port city. It has a lot of international shipping. You can see the ships out there. You can see trains. Never seen so many trains. So this is a major hub of commerce.
Reversing falls low tide, and it's going that way.
It's 6 hours later. Now it's high tide, and the tide is going that way. We had one more place to overnight in New Brunswick, near an amazing place called Hopewell Rocks. There was great hiking right from the campground.
We've had a lot of email about what kind of wildlife is up here. Where we are now, moose, deer, bear, and a lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah, they have found it. If you're one of those people that tries to get 10,000 steps in a day, the Maritimes are a great place to get your 10,000 steps on. That's all I can say. The big attraction here is the shoreline and those amazing Bay of Fundy tides. In the nearby fishing village of Alma, the lobster boats sit in the mud waiting for the high tide. At Hopewell Rocks, we walked among the towering rock formations. Oh, I think I'll take the high ground. That looks a little harder to walk through.
That is all mud.
Where I'm standing right now is the end of the Bay of Fundy, but shortly the water will come up 40 feet. Quite a difference. 5 hours later, we returned, this time to get into kayaks, just as the high tide rushed in.
This tide is really coming in fast, and pretty soon it's gonna float. So here we go, into the Bay of Fundy. Hey, Jerry.
The Bay of Fundy borders 2 Canadian provinces. Now, we started out in New Brunswick, and we're going to follow along the bay by land, and we're going to go to Nova Scotia.
Right across there, literally right on the other side of the Bay of Fundy. And we should point out that Fantasy RV Tours sponsors a lot of different tours, not just of North America, but all over the world. The name of this tour is called The Best of the Canadian Provinces. It's 27 days long. They have some that last longer. If you want more information, just go to Fantasy RV Tours and you can check all of that out. But so far we have had an awesome time, and I can only imagine what's awaiting us when we get on the other side of this bay.
Let's get going. Nova Scotia is a very welcoming place. Canada's ocean playground is its proud motto, and our Fantasy RV Tour's first campground in Nova Scotia sure lived up to that and more. We stayed at Parker's Cove, right on the shore of the Bay of Fundy, with spectacular oceanfront views that made us never want to leave.
So we're all camping right here on the beach, and you just couldn't find a nicer spot. Now that we're in Nova Scotia, a whole bunch of new memories and adventures are awaiting. This is the harbor for Parker's Cove, Nova Scotia. And about a half dozen families make their living lobstering here in this cove.
All of these men that you see here are multi-generational fishermen. It's in their blood, it's who they are, it's what they do. They pass it on from generation to generation. They have a love for this.
So I'm a 5th generation lobster and halibut fisherman here in Bay Shore of Nova Scotia.
Are the lobsters here really better than Maine lobsters that everybody talks about?
Yeah, well, I'm not just saying it because this is where my heritage is, but they really are better, and it's due to the extremely cold, clean coastal waters and the rock bottom of the Bay of Fundy. Pretty cold. It only warms up a few degrees between summer and winter, and it's due to the injection of Labrador current into the Bay of Fundy every day. So twice a day, actually, the Labrador current is shooting down from north here with extremely cold water, and the inward push of the tidal flow into the Bay of Fundy twice a day pushes that cold water up in here, and it keeps the Bay of Fundy a lot colder than other coastal waters in the South.
Okay, I gotta ask a 5th generation lobsterman, how often do you eat lobster?
Well, not as much as most people would think. When I was a kid, I had to take them to school for sandwiches and traded them for peanut butter and jelly. So a few times a year, I would say, something like that.
Really? Only a few times a year? I guess you can have too much of a good thing, right?
There is such a thing as too much of a good thing. I love them, and I was raised on them, and my father ate them every day. But I enjoy them, but maybe just a few times a year.
That's good.
I'm going to give these here a drink. You give this one a drink?
I don't know if I did or not. I know
It's many, though.
So I'll give you a drink.
How's that?
That's a handsome looking bugger.
All of us on this fantasy RV tour of the Maritimes have sure eaten our share of lobster. But the locals told us we also need to try the chowders, filled with fresh caught Bay of Fundy seafood.
Look at this chowder. Haddock, lobster, clams. It is absolutely fabulous.
This is Digby, Nova Scotia, and it's known as the scallop capital of the world. They say that the scallops here are the best that you will find anywhere in the world. They are in high demand all over the world, and we have been told that you've never had scallops until you've had Digby scallops. So we've come to Digby to eat some scallops. Look at the size of those things. Oh my gosh.
Seafood was a constant on all of our dinners out.
Linguine with scallops. Beef.
Salad.
Now this is good. This is salad with scallops.
Look at that. Spaghetti. Spaghetti. Seafood spaghetti.
And linguine with scallops. It's a good thing we all like seafood, right?
Oh, absolutely beautiful to look at as well as to smell. This is how we like to travel. We like to be serendipity in our travel. We like to stop and smell the roses and just enjoy the beauty of where we are and explore it, taste it, smell it, be part of it. This is so nice, so well thought out. These red chairs are placed different places in Canada for you to stop, sit down, reflect upon life, enjoy the beauty that's around you. Just slow down and enjoy, which is something that I think we all need to do.
And this place that we're at now is the first French presence in North America. It was recorded in 1605. And this is the oldest of all of the historic sites in Canada. Its history goes back more than 3,000 years to the Micmac natives who lived in this area, the First Nation folks. Then the French came, and then the British came. But it is a beautiful area. And the waters here in Annapolis Royal by the original Micmac people were called the place of bountiful fish. And to this day, it is the fish and the seafood of this area of Nova Scotia that is known worldwide. What a place to sit and just take it all in.
I hate to do this to you, Mike, but it's time to move on. We've got a fort that we need to go look at, and it's not that far away. And if you look, you can see a couple of red chairs there. So let's go check it out.
This is going to be my new standard for a place I want to visit, whether they have red chairs.
Well, these wooden chairs are comfortable.
There was a trail of tears, so to speak, here in Nova Scotia. It involved the French people, the Acadian people. For a couple hundred years, this was their territory, shared with the First Nation Indian tribes. But then the British came, and they forcibly deported those Acadians. Here in Annapolis Royal, there's a plaque that commemorates that in this very spot, right here, 1,664 local Acadian men, women, and children were forced onto ships and deported by the British. Some made it back to France, but others made it to Louisiana, where we now refer to them as Cajuns, Acadia, Cajuns. But a trail of tears, this happened throughout this whole province as the British moved the French out.
I think it's great how the native people and the French meshed together well.
They got along very well.
In fact, the native people protected a lot of the Acadians and hid them, got them food, and helped them stay on this land that they had carved out, that they had made dikes and made it suitable for farming, and they lived here, and they just wanted to be neutral. They just wanted to exist. And of course the British and the French were fighting, and the Brits wanted them to sign allegiance to them.
To the crown, yeah.
And then they would have had to fight against the French, and these people were French, originally, even though they just wanted to live peacefully here. And it seems like wars.
Somebody always is the oppressor, somebody always is the oppressed. It seems to be the story of mankind all over the world, doesn't it? But hats off to Canada and Nova Scotia for commemorating all of that and telling us these stories here. Powerful stories.
Raincoat and a winter jacket. This is perfect.
Such a pleasant place to come and have a glass of wine. Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Here's to you, Nova Scotia.
After almost 10 days of enjoying the Bay of Fundy, it's time to move on. And so now we're headed to the small town of Lewisburg in Nova Scotia. And it's quaint and beautiful, and old homes, bright and colorful, and lots of little shops and restaurants to enjoy, and it's supposed to be a real highlight.
Wow, this is pretty country, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely stunning. And I love how the weeds are growing up on the side of the road. They're not cutting them down, and it's flowers. We're going down this road that's lined with beautiful flowers, the white and the yellow and occasional pink and roses. It's delightful.
This is Mahone Bay. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. Mahone Bay. It's not far from Lewisburg, and you can see this little cove is just gorgeous. But where are we going?
We are going to a place where they make pewter, and we're going to make a little piece of pewter. We're going to learn some of the history of pewter and why pewter is such a part of the culture and the life around here.
So you're going to make something? Everybody in the group is going to make something?
Yes. I'm going to become a pewter expert.
A pewterer.
Yeah.
Pewterer, something like that. Bo's along. Bo says, whatever.
Yeah, Bo says, thank you for not leaving me back at the RV. This is really cute.
The gating system was made so that it's nice and thin, so we don't have to cut it, and it's easier for you guys when you guys actually go to finish it.
Up until the mid-19th century, pewter was used for everything. For dishes, for silverware, everything that you needed to hold and store, it seems like, was made out of pewter. It even held your medicines. So pewter was a part of life that you couldn't get along without. And this is one of the few places still left where they make handcrafted pewter.
Well, Jen and our fellow campers worked on making a pewter ornament. Bo and I took a look around Mahone Bay. In particular, we wanted to check out these 3 churches right on the harbor front. And since we had some time to kill, we drove over to the ocean and a place called Blue Rocks. You see, these rocks definitely have a blue tint to them. Then it was back to see Jen and what she made at the pewter store.
Hey, while you were gone, look what we made. Isn't this a cute little sail ship? A little reminder of being here. And I could put a little hole in it, make it a tree ornament, or hang it on the window, or I can put a magnet on the back, just to be a little reminder of this wonderful adventure that we've had here.
All right, that's really nice. Now what are we going to do?
Well, I think we've got more exploring to do. How about going to the ovens?
The what?
The ovens.
What are the ovens?
That sounds pretty exciting, doesn't it?
Well, it sounds okay. Let's go.
Let's go.
Is food involved?
No.
Oh. Well, let's go anyway.
All right. We are at the ovens, and just when we thought it couldn't get any prettier, it has. This place is a must-see.
The ovens is a private park, but check this out.
They call this place the ovens because of the sea caves carved out at the base of the cliffs. Caves shaped like a large oven. A trail meanders along the cliff, offering great views. Staircases make their way down to the caves, which fill and empty each day according to the tides.
About 35 miles from Halifax, and this is where we are going to come upon Peggy's Cove, which is an iconic place here in Nova Scotia. It's probably the most photographed lighthouse anywhere in the Maritimes, and it is an amazing little town of Just picturesque little houses. Peggy's Cove. So there it is. That's the lighthouse. And half the fun is just walking around on these rocks. As far as the lighthouse goes, location, location, location. This is just a very picturesque location because we are just over there from the North Atlantic. Check this out. Everybody is scrambling around, playing on these rocks. There is that lighthouse.
Next, we visited downtown Halifax, the largest city in the Maritimes. It's built around a star-shaped citadel constructed by the British in 1749. Troops in full uniform replicas from the time period paraded for tourists. The impressive fort commands an awesome view of the modern city. After touring the citadel, we strolled along the Halifax wharf with hundreds of other visitors.
We left Halifax for a unique experience called the Tidal bore, where those massive Bay of Fundy tides rush into the Shubenacadie River. Twice a day, they flood the river up to 35 feet, and then they drain out, leaving behind lots of mud. The tidal bore creates opportunities for brown water rafting and mudsliding.
It was time to head to the far eastern end of the province and Cape Breton Island.
So we are on Cape Breton, and we are about to take a little ferry over to the Cabot Trail. And this is, the Cabot Trail is probably one of the most epic road trips anyone can take anywhere in the world. World famous, gorgeous views. The weather today is a little overcast, but hey, we're going anyway. We're here, so we're gonna go, and it's not raining. We have a little shortcut from our campground. There's a little ferry that takes you across.
And we just watched 14 vehicles get off this ferry, which I would have been amazed if it could hold 4. So I guess we'll make it.
The Cabot Trail is a 178-mile curving road along the northern end of Cape Breton Island. It has great scenic overlooks of the Atlantic, but it can become quite crowded at times. On the day we drove it, the cloud cover and a bit of fog obscured the best views, though what we saw before everything turned gray was indeed impressive.
Back at the campground, just 20 miles away, the weather was fine. But the next morning, when we visited an amazing place called the Fortress of Lewisburg, the fog had rolled in again. What you notice when you enter the fort right off is that the people who are explaining the history of this fort are dressed in costume, and it makes it very educational to see how they dress and to have them speak as though we were in that time period. You have to kind of get used to that a little bit. I love this. I love it. I'm so glad we're here. Thank you for bringing me. Like stepping back in time into this French community. Okay, Mike, I'm going to leave you for a little bit, and to make you stay put, I'm just going to do this to you so that I'll know where you are. Because you have a tendency to wander off, and I don't know where you are, and I don't know if the cell phones work. So this ought to keep you in one spot.
All right.
This building is the military headquarters, so this is the military chapel.
Fresh fry. After the fortress, we were hungry and ready to try a special sandwich we'd heard a lot about, unique to the Maritimes, called the donair. Tell me what a donair is.
Well, it's a Greek food.
Yeah.
It's from Greece, and they make it sometimes with chicken, pork, with hamburger.
But this is special meat, right?
Yes, and a special sauce. It's a sweet sauce that goes on it. Oh, it's cooked on a spit.
Yeah.
And then it's cut down in strips.
Yeah.
It turns on it's called a soulakia machine.
Right.
I hope you like it.
I'll find out. Thank you.
Okay, Mike, this is one, and you would not believe how heavy this is. It feels like a brick.
Holy cow.
We are not going to run laps after eating that. Holy smokes, that is a lot of meat. I see tomatoes and onions and a very interesting sauce that has a little bit of a kick to it. This is a lot of meat. I don't know if that's cabbage in there. I'm not quite sure what else is in there. It is tasty, and I can see why people could get hooked on these.
The donair.
Well, that pretty much wrapped up our tour of Nova Scotia. But our fantasy RV tour of the Maritimes continues with a visit to a third province.
And I can't wait to go to Prince Edward Island. This is day 23 of our tour, and we're headed to our last stop on Prince Edward Island. And my, how time flies. We'll be there 4 days. The 27th, we can say goodbye and all go our separate ways. And Prince Edward Island is one of the most popular places in the Canadian Maritimes. So can't wait to go see it. Never been there before. So a new adventure awaits us as we cross over the Confederation Bridge. And Canada likes to boast that that's the longest bridge over ice-covered water in the world. It's 7.5 miles. And of course it's summertime, so we're not going to see the ice, but something to be proud of. They made a bridge 7.5 miles long.
We drove north through the interior of the island, and our first impression was that it was very rural. Indeed, agriculture, mostly potatoes, is the island's main industry. After about 30 miles down lush country roads, we reached the northern seashore near Cavendish, where our fantasy RV tour settled in at the Marco Polo Land Campground.
This is our campsite on Prince Edward Island, and the campground is called Marco Polo Campgrounds. And it's a lovely place, 600 spots if you can believe that, and we are getting ready to go jump on the bus and tour the day away.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Tourism is the second industry, and much of it is devoted to the beloved Anne of Green Gables series of books. The author, Lucy Maud Montgomery, lived here, and her characters were drawn on her childhood memories. We attended a musical production based on the books at an awesome theater in Charlottetown. Here's another reason the island is so popular with summer visitors: the beautiful beaches. All that water also means Prince Edward Island is home to a big fishing fleet, and fishing is the third major industry here. We enjoyed lobster.
They cook the lobster for 10 minutes and then they dump them in an ice water and put it upside down to cool it, and so the juice comes into the lobster. And they cook the lobster in seawater.
So you serve the lobster then cold?
Cold.
That's the way you should eat lobster?
Yes.
All those places that serve it hot?
They don't do it. Good. You see the difference. You will see the difference.
So this is cold. It is cold. Dip it in butter. Got to do that.
And you're dipping it in warm butter.
No, the butter's kind of medium warm, but it really is.
Better.
Really flavorful.
Good.
Wow. Who'd know? Who'd think that?
It's like when you like cocktail shrimp.
It's really flavorful.
But wait, as good as that lobster is, you've not eaten seafood until you've had Prince Edward Island mussels cooked the way the locals do it.
So how do you cook these things?
These things? So I take carrot, onion, and celery, and garlic, and I saute those in this pan for about 30 seconds. Then I hit it with some wine, and then I put the mussels in. So all of this stuff we call mirepoix. It's just a mix of vegetables. Anyway, that's what brings out all the flavor of these mussels.
Why are PEI mussels so good?
PEI, one is they're grown year round. That's a big thing here. So there's a lot of seasonal ones. We tend to farm them all year round. Just the rich texture. It's totally different than some of the others that you might see around the world. And this is how we do it on PEI. We call these PEI tongs. You take a shell, you scoop it out. That's what you do.
The island is also known for its excellent fruit preserves. We went to a tasting bar with every conceivable flavor available, including some you wouldn't expect. And with potatoes being the major agricultural product, I guess we shouldn't have been surprised to find potato pie.
Underneath the board,
we visited museums and restored villages dating back to the 1800s. I even took a turn churning cream into butter and helping make a form of biscuit cooked over an outdoor wood-burning oven.
and it's done.
There were gardens and parks and peaceful marinas. We spent a delightful time in Charlottetown, touring the city and hanging out at a fun festival that celebrated the Acadian culture, still very much a part of the island.
And we're just here to celebrate culture.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
man.
have fun and enjoy the day.
Yes, sir.
And back at the campground, there were nightly campfires. 27 days before, we met as strangers as our fantasy RV tour began. But how fast those days passed in one of North America's most beautiful places. As we left the Maritimes, we left as close friends, ready to plan out future tours.